Well, peace, friends.
Peace, Macau.
It's good to be with you this morning. Joining me is Aaron Umstead.
Morning, friends. Glad to be here.
And Nathan on guitar. Yeah. It's going to be a good day. The weather is very different than it was last week, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that it was nice and warm last week for the art festival, and it's kind of nice that it's cool. So
bring on the fall.
All right, so here's an opening question for you. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being hate it, 5 being love it, how into Halloween do you get?
Meh.
1. Okay, so I hear some 5s. I'm like a 3. Like I'm kind of like I might show up in a costume to preach on the 29th, but really because that's what we do, and less because that's like really exciting to me. Last year I just wore like a Ghostbusters sweatshirt, and that was a good vibe for me.
We'll take it.
I do happen to have a mustard bottle costume, and that seems really like awkward to sit in, and then so stay tuned. You'll just have to come on the 29th and see what happens.
You might have to wear it, stand up, and dance the whole time. I'm here for it, Pastor.
I did that. Anyway, okay. What would you stand up with me and let's sing some songs. Let's worship this morning.
When you move, darkness runs for cover. When you move, no one's turned away. 'Cause where you are, fear turns into praises. 'Cause where you are, no heart's left unchanged. So come, move, let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. 'Cause when you move, the outcast finds a family. When you move, the orphan finds a home. Lord, here we are. Oh, teach us to love mercy. With humble hearts, we bow before your throne, Jesus. Oh, so come, move. Let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. So come, move. Let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. King of all generations, let every tongue and nation surrender all to you alone, you alone. King of all generations, let every tongue and nation surrender all to you alone. So come, move, let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you, yeah, to you. So come, move, let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you, yeah, to you. So come, move, let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. 'Cause you are King of all generations. Let every tongue and nation surrender all to you alone. You alone. King of all generations. Let every tongue and nation surrender all to you alone. You alone. So come, move, let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. I love singing that song, specifically with the line, let justice roll on like a river. And the beauty of the community that we are a part of here is a community first of belonging, where you can come and be a part of a community where you can be known and loved, but also that we are a community that fights for justice, fights for inclusion, fights for people to know the love of God in every place and every time. And yeah, I just love that part. So thanks for singing that with me. This next song we're doing is called Communion. We've done it the past couple of weeks. It might still feel new, but just jump into it. This is a song about how close God is to us in all of life, in the joys and the pains, in every moment that he's with us. God is with us. So yeah, let's sing together. Take me back to the garden. Lead me back to the moment I heard your voice. Take me back to communion. Lead me back to the moment I saw your face. And it was all so simple. It was easy to love. With no space between us, it was easy to trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. He is where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. This is the garden. Here is the place I find you close. This is communion. Here in the place I'm fully known. And it was all so simple. You're so easy to love, easy to love. And there's no space between us. You're so easy to trust. Lord, help me trust. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me, yeah. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me, yeah. And I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me, yeah. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know that you are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. And it feels so good to know you are my friend. Yes, it feels so good to know you are my friend. Amen.
Maybe? Yeah, that was my
Yes,
fault, actually.
definitely take a seat.
Yeah, you can take a seat. And kids, you can go on up to Kids Creek. It is that time of the service. There are snacks up there. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, we don't have snacks here, but you could bring snacks. You are welcome to have snacks and drinks in here, but we don't have any this year. Maybe another time. All right. You should have gotten a program when you came in, hopefully, and in that program is a connection card. You can go ahead and write your name and your email address on that. If any of your information has changed, you can update that for us. And then just hold on to this to the end of the service.
Is there going to be a quiz at the end?
No, there's no quiz at
no
the
quiz?
end. There will be an opportunity to respond to the message, which is, good.
Yes.
And let's see. Oh, and if you are here for the first time and you fill this out and give it to us, via our instructions at the end of the service, then you can get a free booklet.
Ooh.
It's like a book thing in the back. So that's on the table in the cafe. So
and it's
keep
a
that
book
in mind.
for our
it's a small group
series.
book. It is this
Nice.
one right here. And you can also get this free book if you sign up for a small group. it's a great book. It's a great small group. Okay, we do a thing here.
We do. We
It's
do.
called-
We're ahead of the game. We've already each taken our selfies.
We took
so
selfies.
Don't feel intimidated. Go ahead and pull out those cell phones. We
Yeah.
want to encourage you to connect with us through the selfie of the week. You
Yes,
see a smattering of lovelies. Here are our selfie of the week from last week. Look at those young humans. Love it.
It's all from the art festival last
Yes.
week. People were unloading pumpkins and playing, and technically these aren't selfies, but I mean,
We kind of break the rules here, though.
they're
we do
adorable.
what we want.
And look, you can tag us on Instagram, Sycamore Creek
that.
Church MI. You can use the hashtag SCCMI, and you can also email us at the office at sycamore-creek-church.org if you're not into the social media thing and you still want to participate. And maybe next week you could be featured as our selfie of the week.
That would be exciting.
That would be exciting.
Yes.
So this week we're continuing our series called I've Been Meaning to Ask.
And our message, ask.
Make sure you hear the K.
Yep.
Ask. Yes. All right. And our message, it begins with this.
Some of our best conversations start with good questions. Questions we've been meaning to ask. Questions that keep us curious, and questions that lead us deeper into courage and connection. We've crafted this series around 4 guiding questions. I've been meaning to ask, where are you from? Where does it hurt? What do you need? Where do we go from here? These questions aren't surface level. They invite us to tell our stories, share our pain, care for one another, and dream about a new way forward together. Join Sycamore Creek for this 5-week series on Sundays in October, and join a small group this fall to explore these questions deeper.
I believe that everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge pain in other people. In late July of 2013, I packed my 2 kids in our van, and I drove an hour and a half from where we lived in Greenville, North Carolina, to Raleigh, North Carolina, to see my sister and her 3 kids. We had planned a whole day of going to, it's called Pullen Park, which is like a park with a train and a carousel and all, it's like a park, but it's like a park. And then we were going to Marbles, which is a children's museum after that. My boys were 2 and 3 years old at the time. My daughter was not born yet. And I was really excited about this day. It was going to be a fun opportunity for me to have our kids play together, and it was going to be like family time. Now, I've learned a lot in the last 10 years as a mother about what is a good idea and what's not a good idea. And at the time, I thought it was a good idea to bring my son, who was newly potty training, in something other than diapers. Yeah, that didn't. Yeah, it was a rookie mistake. It really was. I would not do that again. Also, at the time, I was in some pain, emotional and physical, with some stuff that was going on at the time. Now, I would have just said, you know what? Not a good time. I'm just going to stay home. But rookie mistake, pushed through. I was like, I'm going to grin and bear it. It's going to be great. And it was all for the sake of spending time with family. Except that one of my kiddos was having a really hard time that day. And he could not handle going into the room where the other kids were playing. I know enough now to say I think he was in sensory overload. He was not in a position where he could handle it. And so I spent the whole time following him around to places. This is one of the places that was comforting to him. So this is a bittersweet memory here. There was a lot going on that day. Everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge pain in others. In the beginning of May 2022, I was working at a church in Chicago, and my supervisor lived about an hour and a half away from me. Chicago is really big, by the way. Chicagoland is really big. And so my supervisor lived in the suburbs, and he called me one day in May, beginning of May, and he said, Mikkel, the lead pastor and I are going to be in your neighborhood today. Can we meet? I was like, all right. So we met someplace, and they told me that due to budget stuff, they were closing the campus that I was leading there, and that my position was being eliminated. And I had about 3 weeks to tell the church, to let them know that the place that they had been worshiping for years was no longer going to be there. And so I met with person after person after person to sit across from them and tell them, hey, this is what's going on. I snapped a selfie at one of the meetings, the first one. And you could just see, I was in it was so heavy. I remember this meeting specifically. The guy thought that I had seen something in him and that I was going to be inviting him into a leadership position. And instead, I had to tell him that our church was closing. Everyone carries hurt, carries pain, and has the capacity to acknowledge pain in others. Now, I could go on and share stories of my mistakes, of places where I've caused pain, of places where I've experienced pain. Pain has been part of my life, and my guess is that it's been part of yours in some way or another. Now, one of the ways that I can tend to deal with pain is to intellectualize it. I can say, I feel hurt. And then I just don't emote the things that I'm feeling, right? So that's one thing I do. I can put it in a little box, and I'm I just got to keep going, right? I got to grin and bear it. I got to get this stuff done. It really takes a lot for me to sit and make space for me to feel my feelings. I don't know if you've experienced that. And some of that is a coping skill, or coping strategy that helps us survive. But there also comes a time when you got to sit down and you got to deal with the feelings and you got to deal with the stuff. I need a place, and you need a place to express your answer to the question, where does it hurt? We all need that space. Now, today we're going to get into some areas, we're going to be talking about this question, where does it hurt, and pain. And I want to give you a heads up now that one of the ways that we're going to do that is by talking about a passage in the Bible about Hannah, who experienced infertility. And so I don't want anybody to be surprised by that when we get to that. I know that lots of people have experienced lots of things. And so I want to give you permission now that if it's better for you to get up and leave, or go to the cafe and hang out, or just kind of disconnect, that's okay. I hope that you have a place where you can explore that pain in a safe way and talk to people. But if this isn't the space for that, that's okay. And we're getting ready to have a chat question. It's one of the things that we do, and that will be a really natural time. If you're wondering, do I get up now? Do I, whatever. It will be a natural time. So we're going to stop and reflect for just a moment on this question. This is something we do here at Sycamore Creek. What have been ways or settings you found helpful for expressing hurts? So I'm not asking you to tell a new friend what your hurts are, but rather, what are the things that help you feel safe to talk about the things that hurt? What is the environment that you need to be able to talk about stuff? So if you're joining us online, you can put it in the chat. If you're here, you can move and sit near someone. And again, if you need to get up and leave, that's okay too. Take a minute and talk about it. So I have found, by the way, if you're joining us now for the first time in person or online, we're discussing this question, where does it hurt? And we pause throughout our message for chat questions, and so that's what we're just wrapping up. I feel like for me, having the settings that have been helpful for expressing hurts, therapy comes to mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like, that's a place where I don't want to say one of the few places, but it's a place where I don't have to be diplomatic about what I'm feeling.
Or worry how you phrase it.
Or
even.
worry how I phrase it. In fact, my therapist last week was like, Mikkel, you can be completely honest with me. And that was really helpful. Like, sometimes I just need that permission to just be like blunt and not, being someone who's in the, like, I'm not in the, like, the public eye, but like, I have to be careful sometimes of how I word things here. And that's a space that I don't have to worry about that so much.
Online here on Facebook, Mark Redmond says journaling.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Friends, I want to plug your small group.
Yeah.
That's where I'm able to be the most authentic in my days because we've been together for years now, and I know that they wouldn't be there if they didn't care. And I'm able to listen to them as well. So small groups help for that as well.
That's so good. I think, too, just like when I test the waters and then someone can just validate my pain instead of trying to fix it, that tells me that I can share more. It like sets that stage so that I can like, okay, I can, and I might like just test the waters just a little bit. Like, here's a little part of my pain. Are you going to be okay with it? And then like that, maybe I'll share more after that.
Yeah, I think that's really real.
Yeah. So, we have 3 campuses of Sycamore Creek, and so our next segment of our message, we're actually going to hear from Pastor Mark out in Potterville.
Today I'm going to invite you to engage the pain in your life through this simple question. Where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? All of us have known pain and suffering. We've had physical pain or emotional pain or the pain of grief or the pain of suffering. And we sit in our seats on a Sunday morning, isolated and distant because of our hidden pain. Now, one of the contributors to I've Been Meaning to Ask is Brittany Fiskus Van Rossum. The message today is based on her content regarding this topic. And Brittany writes, how many of us are hurting in silence, hiding our pain because we believe it to be shameful? Maybe we've been taught that certain afflictions are not for polite company, and we have learned the painful practiced art of smiling through platitudes. Maybe our pain has been invalidated or ignored so many times that we begin to believe there's something disgraceful about our feelings or experiences. Maybe it feels easier to bury our emotions for fear of how they will be perceived. In order to cultivate connection to God and connection to others, we're going to get curious together today about the pain others carry and the pain we carry within ourselves. We're going to acknowledge today that pain is real and that bearing witness to each other's pain helps us to cultivate compassion. Let me put that another way. Everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge the pain of others. This series, I've Been Meaning to Ask, it's based on the idea that we first introduced last month with Find Your People. And that idea is that we are made for connection. And it's something we've been missing throughout the pandemic and through the polarization that we have in our country. And so we're discovering together in this series how we can listen to one another, how to find connection across distance, and how to create space for compassionate conversations that seek the holy in each other. Let me repeat that. We're going to create space for compassionate conversations that seek the holy in each other. You see, you have something holy, godlike within you. And let's seek that in each other. Now, profound conversations often begin with very simple questions. And these questions that we're discussing each week, they convey intentionality, warmth, curiosity, and consideration. These are not surface level questions, they're deep. And they invite us to share deeply with one another and to care for one another. I've been meaning to ask, where are you from? Where does it hurt? What do you need? And where do we go from here? While the challenges of deep, loving community where everyone thrives are endless, these questions are simple. Last week, we started building connections through the simple question, where are you from? And today, we're going to explore our connection to God and to each other through the question, where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? In this series, we're looking to Scripture to find stories that speak to the divides in our lives, to the loneliness, to the isolation, and to our grief. And we're using these Bible stories to help us continue to build relationships with each other, to help us foster genuine and authentic connection. See, the kingdom of God is not isolation. The kingdom of God, what God wants for us is deep, meaningful connection. And we hope it begins here today. In order to cultivate connection, we must first get curious about the pain that others carry and the pain that we carry ourselves. And before we act, we must first acknowledge and believe that the pain is real. Bearing witness to each other's pain helps us to cultivate compassion. In 1 Samuel, there's a woman named Hannah, and she's married to a man named Elkanah. And Hannah's pain is ignored, it's diminished, it's mocked. She lives in a patriarchal culture where everything is stacked against her, and yet Hannah, with great vulnerability and courage, shares all of herself, including her pain, before God. Hannah's story touches on an area of pain that most of us don't talk about, the pain of infertility, the pain of miscarriage, and the pain of the loss of a child. And again, I'm giving a disclaimer here that we're going to touch on those painful areas of life. There is tremendous pain in those areas. And people who suffer from this pain often suffer silently. And in telling Hannah's story today, I hope to bear witness to that suffering and not exacerbate it. Hannah is whole, just as she is. She doesn't need a child or health or a change in circumstances to make her whole. Her pain is rooted in not being seen. And if you resonate today with Hannah's pain, I want to encourage you, reach out to me in some way after worship so that you can be seen and that your pain can be shared with someone. In this story, Hannah is transformed when her pain is acknowledged and blessed. Hannah finds peace. Here's her story. There was a man named Elkanah who lived in Ramah in the region of Zuph in the hill country of Ephraim. He was the son of Jeroboam, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Duff of Ephraim. Now, Elkanah had two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. Each year, Elkanah would travel to Shiloh to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of Heaven's armies at the tabernacle. The priests of the Lord at that time were two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas. On the days Elkanah presented his sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to Peninnah and each of her children. And though he loved Hannah, he would give her only one choice portion, because the Lord had given her no children. Ooh. Can you imagine the pain that Hannah was experiencing? Let's take a moment to enter together into Hannah's pain. So here's our next chat question. What do you think Hannah was experiencing? Take a moment to describe and to reflect on her anguish. Let's take a moment to discuss Hannah's pain. Turn to someone near you to discuss this, or type your answer in the chat online. Let's discuss.
Wow, I think it's hard to imagine really what Hannah was experiencing. I think there's a sense of her like experiencing injustice here, like seeing the favoritism that's offered to her husband's other wife. I mean, like even that there's a whole lot there, you know.
Like, why would she need more than one portion? She doesn't have any kids.
Right?
Right?
Ay, ay, ay.
This is super interesting to me because I don't have children and I've never wanted children.
Yeah.
But I feel for Hannah because the markers and the metrics that made her a worthwhile woman are I'm facing a lot of metrics and markers in humanity that I feel like I haven't hit yet, and maybe I should have already hit them. So my situation is different than Hannah's, but I can relate to having pain around I'm not where I'm supposed to be at this time in my life.
Yeah, I think I would imagine that all of us have experienced that in some way or another. Like, I mean, I got married really young and had kids really young. But then, like, my career, I feel like started 10 years after most of my colleagues. And so then I look around and I'm like, oh, I should be ahead, you know. I start comparing myself to them, and it's really hard to feel like the world is moving on without you.
Yeah. And you should try to maybe hurry and catch up. That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
FYI.
In case you were wondering. All right, let's continue on with our next segment here. I imagine that Hannah feels isolated and alone here. Her husband treats the other wife as better. Hannah is miserable and in anguish. And to make matters even worse than all of that, Peninnah joins in taunting Hannah. It says in 1 Samuel 1, 6 and 7, so Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because the Lord had kept her from having children. I'm not even going to get into that part, but I don't know that I believe that the Lord kept her from having children. That's what, okay. I'm not even going to get into that. Okay, we'll talk later. If you have questions, let's talk later. Okay, year after year, it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the tabernacle. So they're going to the tabernacle to worship, remember? And Hannah is hurting. She's in pain. Have you ever just been in pain and you still felt like you needed to show up at church and smile and pretend like everything was okay? That's what she's experiencing in this moment. And Peninnah's taunts just heap pain. Every time Hannah would be reduced to tears, she would not even eat. And then Elkanah's husband steps in and manages to say exactly the wrong thing. Why are you crying, Hannah? Elkanah would ask. Why aren't you eating? Why be downhearted just because you have no children? You have me. Isn't that better than having 10 sons? Now, when we talked about this, we had some different perspectives on what Elkanah was doing here, surprisingly or not. One of us felt like Elkanah here is expressing longing, which it could be. Right? Elkanah is expressing longing that see me, I love you, aren't I enough? Others of us felt like Elkanah is just not seeing it. And then he's not able to connect to her pain. Others said, okay, well look, this is a patriarch, well there's only 3 of us, so it was a conversation, okay? It's not whatever. Another option, another perspective could be that Elkanah, they live in a patriarchal culture where Elkanah could divorce Hannah because she doesn't have children. That is an option on the table for him. And her position within the family is secured based on her ability to produce a son. And so there's an element here where he's saying, look, you're not in danger. You're secure. I've got you. There's a reassurance there. So whatever he's trying to do, I imagine he's well-intentioned. and that this only makes her feel more isolated and alone and unseen and misunderstood. We've all had moments like this, right? Where someone has come up to us and said, like, well, look on the bright side. Like, God has a purpose for this. Like, I know that God hasn't left you, and God hasn't left you, but, like, does that mean he caused it to happen? I mean, that God caused it to happen? Anyways, it comes across as dismissive of our pain. It makes us feel like we can't share it, that we can't be honest about what we're really feeling when people respond this way. So Hannah's story continues. Once, after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. So again, they're worshiping. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. So Hannah has been belittled, has been patronized, has been dismissed, misunderstood, provoked, all for her infertility, which is a bodily condition that she has no control over. Some of us today are familiar with Hannah's grief. Some of us have experienced miscarriage, have experienced infertility, have experienced the loss of a child. Or even, economic insecurity, job loss, addiction. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. What would you say if someone asked and really meant it and had proven to be a safe place? Where does it hurt? How would you respond to that? What would it be like if someone could acknowledge the validity of your answer to that question? Could we, like Hannah, share our pain with humility? Can we trust that there's no right or proper way to express our pain? Would honesty about our own hurts and disappointments allow us to be more present to other people's afflictions as well? Everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge pain in others. So at this point, Hannah is crying out to God in anguish, and she makes this vow. O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime. And as a sign that he's been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut. So Hannah thinks that she's alone, and she's not alone at this point. Because as she's praying to the Lord, Eli watched her, the priest. Seeing her lips moving but hearing no sound, he thought she had been drinking. Must you come here drunk? He demanded. Throw away your wine. All right, so not a great start from Eli the priest. All right. She says, oh no, sir. I haven't been drinking wine or even anything stronger, but I'm very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I'm a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow. So Hannah now shares that anguish and sorrow with Eli. And Hannah's vulnerability moves Eli. He's filled with compassion. He says, in that case, go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the request that you have asked him. So Eli doesn't really do much here in some ways, right? He essentially just sees and acknowledges and validates her pain. It is so easy for us to get tripped up in our attempts at compassion, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I got to say the right thing. I got to do the right thing. And most of the time, we just have to be present. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. I'm so sorry that you're going through that. A lot of times, that's all we really need to say. Here's what Eli does in this moment, though. Eli acknowledges Hannah's pain. He doesn't provide a solution. He doesn't try to fix it. He just accepts the hurt and offers to pray for her. And this is important to note, because if we're going to be people of God who bring peace and healing to this world, we have to be willing to pause and bear witness to each other's pain. Sometimes this is really inconvenient. Sometimes it comes at really inconvenient times. But this is so important for us to do. Everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge the pain of others. And this acknowledgement of Hannah's pain, it's transformative for her. Hannah has expressed her deepest anguish and sorrow, and Eli heard it and validated it, responded, even though he didn't do it perfectly. And yet, Hannah responds here, "Oh, thank you, sir." And then she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. Now, I wrestle a little bit with that last phrase because, the pain probably didn't just go away, right? But there was something healing, maybe a process that began with the validation of her pain. There's a lightening of the load. Hannah has found the release of being fully seen and known by God. There's a phrase that Pastor Mark likes to use. God can't heal what we won't reveal. We have to let God see it. I mean, God sees it, but we have to see it too with God. You know what I mean? It's okay to be angry with God. It's okay to be frustrated with God, to be confused, and to tell God, hey, this is confusing. I don't get it. You can be mad. That's okay. It doesn't mean that we just do this once, right, and then it's all over. We might experience round after round after round of pain and have to go back to God again and again and again. And God's right there in the midst of that with us in the pain. Now, God won't force God's self on you. You have to invite God into the process of healing those hurts. And like Hannah, with dignity and honesty, we can embrace our stories without shame, trusting that God is present and ever listening. And again, what happened in this story? Hannah has found the release of being fully seen and known by another person. We are God's ambassadors. We're image bearers of God. And so there's something incredibly powerful as we're able to share our pain with someone that we trust. Being fully seen and known by God is a step on the journey to addressing our pain. And the next important step is to be fully seen and known by another person. Now, if you're familiar with Hannah's story, you may know that I'm leaving out part of the end. She does eventually have a son. But we're intentionally leaving that part out because that's not the thing that made her whole. That's not the thing that healed her. She was healed because of her interaction with God and with Eli. It was being seen and known and understood that allowed her to begin her healing. It wasn't having a baby. So I want to invite you today to be that person who can share their pain and to be the type of person who can have pain shared with you and you be a safe person to hear it. Because when we receive that pain, we don't shy away from it. We don't delegitimize it. We acknowledge it. We perceive and accept the pain of others. And in doing so, like the God that we follow, we stand alongside others who are suffering. This week's art is a picture of Hannah called Seen. It's by Reverend Lyle Gwynn Garrity. It's in the booklet for the small group, by the way. She said, there's an artist statement in that booklet too, and she says, when I look at this image, I remember when I have been Penina. Whose pain have I mocked? I remember when I have been Elkanah. Whose pain have I questioned? I remember when I have been Eli. Whose pain have I dismissed? And I remember when I've been Hannah. And I start to notice the people who are screaming in pain in my midst. I wonder how you would answer those questions. Now, this week's question is I've been meaning to ask is, where does it hurt? And as we ask that question, maybe like me, you sometimes have a desire to fix things or at least to say the right things. I think we all have that desire on some level. We want to help. We want to make it better. And if we can't make it better, then sometimes we default to avoidance. Somebody else probably knows that person better. They're probably going to say the thing. That person doesn't want to hear from me. Sometimes that's our internal monologue when we're trying to get out of saying something or talking to someone who's in pain, knowing that it might be awkward. And I think that's not what God wants for us, to avoid pain. Let's not be people who avoid our pain. Let's instead confess together the harm done in neglecting emotional, physical, individual, historical, and systemic wounds that exist among us. It's done a lot of damage to us when we neglect our wounds. Expressing pain with humility and dignity and witnessing the pain of other people with humility and dignity, those are transformative actions. In the months that followed that fateful trip to the Children's Museum, we began to pursue evaluations for that kiddo who is having a hard time, and we eventually found out that he has autism. And I wish that I could say that our church was a place where we found a lot of understanding and connection. Remember, this was 10 years ago, and so a lot has changed in our society in 10 years in our understanding of autism. We had a couple of people in our small group that saw us and understood us, and I also had a lot of well-intentioned people who said things that I had to explain why they were wrong, and I had to do some work. It made more work for me. But I did find a group of other parents who had autistic kids who were able to see and validate and yeah, we had that experience too, and this is how I navigated it, and this is what I did. And those people helped me care for myself and my child in better ways. Being seen and understood in those spaces was such a relief. Everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge pain in others. Now, since then, I've been part of other small groups where people have shared different struggles that they've had, or they're saying, hey, I think my kid might, I don't know, and I'm able to come alongside them and say, hey, I'll go to your IEP meeting with you, or I'll talk through that stuff with you, or whatever it is, and or just to say, hey, whatever you're feeling, it's okay. If you're feeling relief, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling grief, whatever it is okay that you're feeling that. I think that over the years, God has increased my capacity to share compassion with people, to hear vulnerably the grief that other people are experiencing. And then when my job was eliminated last year, I also found comfort with other people. I talked to the people I had grown close to in Chicago, people who were affected by the same closure that I was. I talked to my sisters and shared my grief with them. One of my sisters now lives here in Holt, and she and her family drove for a day trip to Chicago to spend the day with our family on the day before our last service. And their presence with us was incredibly comforting. So I've learned through these different experiences, through these losses, the importance of just holding space and showing up for people when things are hard, because everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge the pain of others. Now, as we close today, I want to invite you to share those places with somebody. We have our pastor's email addresses here on the screen. You can email any one of us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to sit and just hear and validate the things that are painful. You can also share a prayer request that will go to our prayer team by emailing prayers@sycamorecreekchurch.org. Our prayer team would love to pray with you, to walk through the places that are hurting right now. And then our fall small groups are beginning. Aaron mentioned them earlier. That's a great place to find connection. Today is the last day to sign up for one, and some of them have started already. So I really encourage you, like you have a booklet in your program, flip through it, find a time that works for you, go ahead and sign up. Now, I'm going to hang out after the service. So if you're here and you're like, I really want to pray with someone today, I'm going to hang out. Grab me, like find me. I'd love to pray with you. Now let's pause for one more chat question. Except we're not actually going to chat. I just want to invite you to sit and process for a few minutes, 90 seconds, and think about this question: where does it hurt? Find some words to put to it, and maybe that's something that you just go home and journal about. Maybe it's something that you share with a friend or your spouse or somebody. But just start by putting words to whatever hurt you might have this morning. Let's take a minute. Whatever you're going through today, my hope and prayer is that Sycamore Creek would be a place where you find that you can connect to God and to others and share that pain. That you would find healing, or like the beginning of healing, in this space and with these people. And that you could encounter the Spirit of God and be transformed by God's grace. Because we know that everyone carries hurt and has the capacity to acknowledge the pain of others. And I want you to hear this morning that you are not alone. And knowing that you're not alone and that maybe you're looking for some places to connect here with Sycamore Creek or to other people, I want to give you some options, some opportunities to get connected. So watch this video now.
Thank you for joining us this morning and asking the hard questions. And now for your announcements. Connect with us at sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect or by filling your name and email on the connection cards in your program. Put those in the blue buckets at the end of your seat. Flip them over and grow with us by taking a next step at sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect, like signing up for a small group. You can sign up for a small group to grow together, make better friendships, and learn more at sycamorecreekchurch.org/small groups. And when you sign up for a small group, you'll get the free study journal I've been meaning to ask to participate in our church-wide study. This October 29th, before Halloween, we'll host a dress-up Sunday, so wear your costume during worship, Sunday, October 29th. You want to serve with us and be part of the mission here at Sycamore Creek, you can sit in the itty-bitty living space with phenomenal cosmic power as a media maestro. Thank you for your giving that makes everything here possible at Sycamore Creek. We're taking it back to the worship studio to see what your giving has made possible this week.
All right, so pull those connection cards back out. If you flip them over, we have some next steps. And they're next steps that anyone can take. You can join a small group here. Yeah, it's beautiful. You can sign up for the Serve Challenge, which is being a media team. That sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun.
That sounds like fun. Okay.
I want the unlimited power.
And you can share a prayer request with us. You know, I mentioned that you can email prayers in, but you can also write one here on your connection card, and our prayer team will be praying for them. And then you can just drop those in the blue buckets at the end of your row. So again, if you're a first-time guest and you drop that you drop that card in the blue bucket, you can get a free book. So I think it's worth it.
I think so too.
All right, so we also, if you brought giving this morning, we have a giving envelope in that program. You can also drop that in the blue bucket. You can also give online or through our app even. You can scan that QR code. And however you choose to give, we're really thankful for the ways that you give. Your giving helps move the mission forward here at Sycamore Creek. And we like to celebrate something that your giving has done every week. And this week we're celebrating the South Lansing Art Festival that happened last week. Oh my gosh, just give it up for the volunteers who made that possible. We had a handful, I should know the number off the top of my head, but of volunteers who were here almost the whole day.
Yeah.
And we gave away 500 pumpkins, and we danced to the music, and it was so fun. Ate food. It was really good food.
I hula hooped.
You hula
Yep,
hooped?
it was
You
on the
were a
news.
vendor as well?
I was a vendor. One of the pictures, there's connections all over the place. One of my former students was one of the vendors.
Oh, nice.
She's like, Miss Umstead? I'm like, that's me. So it was very cool.
Nothing like being called by your last name when you're hula hooping.
Yeah, I know, right?
Awesome. Well, again, thank you. This is part of what your giving does here at Sycamore Creek, and so we're just thankful for the ways that all the people that we connected with on Sunday last week. Okay, one last chat question. This is one you can just shout out, this or that, indoor fireplace or outdoor fire pit?
Both.
Yes.
Right. I'm with Bob.
I
Yes.
love it. I love an outdoor fire pit. I love s'mores. I have a huge sweet tooth, so eating s'mores is a lot of fun. Yes. That was my child, and he got it for me. And yeah, we like sweet things. Okay, stand with me and let's sing a couple more songs.
Letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. And every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary and I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight. No matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers, as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. It's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. And I will trust in you. You are my strength, my comfort. You are my steady hand. You are a firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. And I will trust in you. I know for myself that song hasn't always been easy to sing. And there are times in our hurts and in our pain where it's difficult to trust, and sometimes it's just that tiny little bit that gets it started, and then we can move forward, and God meets us there with his grace that is never ending. So the last song we're going to sing is Grace Like Waters. As this beautiful reminder of the grace of God that is permeating this space in our lives and every moment of every day, even the ones that really suck and are really painful. God is there. So let's sing about that. Songs cannot discover, teachings won't convey. Our hearts, they cannot fathom all you have for us. Your promises won't falter, the word will never fade. We're singing as we wait on all you have for us. Grace like waters, running deeper, sent from heaven for my soul. Grace has found me, it's all around me, always with me. This I know, this I know. Speaking in the quiet, erasing every shame. Oh God, there's no denying all you are to us. Surrounded by your presence, united by your name. Here we stand in awe of all you are to us. Grace like waters, running deeper, sent from heaven for my soul. Grace has found me, it's all around me, always This I know, grace like waters running deeper, sent from heaven for my soul. Grace has found me, it's all around me, always with me. This I know, this I know. This I know. Your grace above me, your grace before me, grace behind me. This I know, grace defends me, grace defines me, grace will guide me. This I know, this I know, this I know. Grace like waters running deeper, sent from heaven for my soul. Grace has found me, it's all around me, it's always with me. This I know, grace like waters running deeper, sent from heaven for my soul. Grace has found me, it's all around me, always with me. This I know, grace like waters running deeper, sent from heaven for my soul. Grace has found me, it's all around me, always with me. This I know, this I know.
I'm so thankful that you're here this morning. I hope that you have a safe space to answer that question, where does it hurt? Next week, we'll continue our series I've been meaning to ask by talking about the question, what do you need? So until then, be curious, creative, and compassionate, and go in peace.